Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 62 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration, and today we will be sending a probe to Urlum. Urlum is one of the outer planets from the Outer Planets mod, and it's actually pretty far out. Now I could be resending one more of our Jool class exploration probes, but then again it wouldn't be really fun now, would it? I have decided that I shouldn't be sending too many of the same ships, so I figured since I am playing with near future propulsion, it would be only fitting that we design a little bit different probe. And this probe will be among the first ones to actually use the nuclear or MK4 fission reactor for propulsion. Now, that being said, I'm not really good at designing probes that use near future technologies. So if any of you have any specific links or your images or examples of the probes that you guys are using, that you have designed using the near future technologies mod, please do link them in the comments below. I would be really interested to see them. Now, that being said, this is a design that I have basically almost copied with pride from one of their example ships, and basically that's the idea. Quad thrusters powered by, I guess, xenon or xenon gas, and also the fission reactor. A couple of additional tanks that I was thinking on putting. Some maybe RCS a little bit to be able to steer it, and that's pretty much it. Then we have to think in terms of what science do we want to put on, and I guess that's also a subject to debate, but yeah. So this kind of 4 monopropellant tanks, dual communitrons for redundancy, and some RCS thrusters for steering. Overall, quite simplistic probe, but I actually like it because it has a little bit of, near future tech vibe. So yes, that's kind of what I had in mind. Now, let's see, what can we put in terms of fairings? And this one will be actually pretty tricky to put on any type of fairing, because this one actually has quad thrusters down, so I actually have to think about how do I want to put the fairing. But that being said, let's try and simulate the vessel in Kerbin orbit, because let's see, before we start thinking about deployment, if it actually makes sense to use it in the first place. So let's see, let's toggle the radiators, start up the reactor, see how that one is faring. We'll wait a little bit until it warms up, and then when the panels, I guess radiators, start to glow, then we will be testing the ion or the near future propulsion thrusters. I want to see what thrust weight do I get out of it, and it seems it's 0.27 max, which is wonderful because so far our near future tech probes have been very limited to use solar power because they were too darn heavy. And with this kind of probe, it seems that we would be able to go to Urlum without much problems because it's very lightweight. So yes, this is more of a proof of a concept probe, and yeah, like I said, it's a more or less copy design from this kind of ships. So, okay, that being said, let us put some decouplers, then let's reverse this one. So this is the way actually how I want to put it, and then a single 1.25, which won't fit, I'll put to the 2.5 meter fairing. May sound a little bit redundant, but I think it will fit pretty nicely. I do like my rockets to be well designed and very sleek and stuff, so yeah. A bigger probe core that should hopefully help with the re-entry. I do want to make the boostering stage reusable, So yes, communitron, which is pretty mandatory. Making sure that I toggle my communitrons. Great. Or toggle, put them in an action group. That being said, okay, then we have some, let's see, thermometer. What are we gonna put from the science experiments? Gravioli, magnetometer boom. I have micro goo containment pod. Okay, this one is orbital satellite. I'm thinking micro goo containment, yes. And I'm thinking of putting 2 in total of these. Then maybe another 2 like material bay equivalent, these guys. I mean, after all, we do want to use all the miniaturization features that we did benefit from, so yeah. We do want to pack science, so that's for sure. Okay, time to think about the boosting stage. And as you can see, it has 3033 of delta V, which should be enough to go to Urlum. I mean, normally I just over-engineer my ships, so this one is a little bit rethink. And it's designed to take a one-way trip, go to Urlum, and then report the sweet science from Urlum. And that's pretty much it. It's a one-way trip, and after that, this probe will have fulfilled its mission. Because recovering it from there would be too tedious and not really worth it. So, especially if you guys remember that I'm playing with remote tech, yeah. That would be like just crazy. So, fixing my staging. Let's put the fairing. Very simplistic fairing. Rocket should be also pretty light. And I'm trying just to see what my delta V is. I'm pretty happy with the design, so I'm just gonna build a vessel. And after some time, our probe will be built, and which is only fitting because our Kerbin to Urlum windows is closing. So, yeah. Let's just roll out. And I have also built one nuke explorer, which would be the classical nuke ship, which I'm still not 100% sure if I want to launch. I mean, you have seen me do these launches like already a couple of times, and I felt it would be a little bit repetitive, so I'm actually thinking of not sending that one, but sending this one instead. Yeah. Pretty simplistic rocket, very simplistic launch, I guess, nothing really special here, but yeah, let's ride it all the way up. I mean, it was pretty fluid, and yeah, given how I normally play, which is like huge monstrosities in space, this one was actually quite a nice refreshment, change of pace, sending a little bit lightweight probe on its maiden voyage very, very far away. Yes, and we are passing the 20,000 meters with our apoapsis burning up to like 50, and the goal is obviously to go for 100 by 100 orbit, from which we will then transfer to Urlum in roughly 19 days and a couple of hours, give or take. Okay, perfect. So apoapsis of 100, creating a maneuver node, which would basically help us circularize. And what I didn't notice, and that will be coming close to our orbital station. I just hope that we won't experience any frame drops. Come on, I cannot be that bogus to actually hit it right on the nose. Popping the fairing, and then extending the communitrons just to make sure that we do maintain a connection to the KSC. And I want also to point the rocket basically maneuver prograde, and we have 1710 delta V to burn with 2217 in this lower stage, so that should be pretty much plenty. Waiting until our burning time, which would be right about now, and using our mainsail to basically circularize the orbit. So, and I feel that this a little bit pause was actually a physics warp. I have a gut feeling that we will be very close to our orbital lab. I'm still not sure if that's gonna be the case, but let's call it a hunch. Okay, target. We obviously have to target one of our long-range communication satellites. And activate. Great. Time to actually... I'm not gonna start up the reactor just yet. I first want to decouple, then I want to toggle the attached radiators, and then I want to start up the reactor. Because this craft, unlike my other craft, doesn't have like 4 different types of energy generation. It's dependent solely upon this generator, and I'm perfectly aware that this is a risk. However, these components are so darn heavy that there is no space for redundancy here. I mean, this generator is basically, if it cannot power the craft, we don't have a case. We'll have to scrap the mission. So in that case, I'm pretty much okay with, if it fails, that we basically don't go anywhere. So yes, as you can see, our orbital lab is 26 kilometers away, which, given the fact that we are in space with such huge distances, this is really close. And I'm now just tweaking my apoapsis and periapsis to make it a little bit more circular. I'm aware that this doesn't need to be perfect, but actually it helps me plan my maneuver nodes with the transfer window planner much better, because then the transfers are much closer to what the calculations from this say. Okay. Coming up closer on our burn, which is only 17 meters per second burn, which is not a whole lot, and we can see our boosting stage slowly drifting away from us, but we first want to actually make sure that we circularize that one properly. Nice shot. Definitely gonna hold on to this one, and we're using our engines to actually just burn slightly. So we cannot burn with 100% thrust, because that would basically mean that we are overstepping our electricity budget. Okay, that one has been properly launched. So let's first return our ascent stage back to Kerbin. Now the goal of this one is, as you guys probably know, I'm just increasing the thrust slightly. There are our basically debris, and now I'm just popping the chutes, time accelerating, and I really don't care much how does this go back, because I have pretty much done everything to prepare, so just arming the parachutes to make sure that they deploy, and I'm perfectly aware I'll probably lose a mainsail, but yeah. I didn't really want to hinder any of the Delta V for the ascent stage by placing additional set of like dampeners or landing legs or something like that, so ultimately I don't care what happens. I want to reuse as much as I can. What I can't, well, I'll just live with it. Okay, I'm sorry a little bit that this is a little bit darker than expected. Okay, at the time I was playing, I forgot that I could actually increase the contrast, so yeah. But that's why this was pretty much accelerated, so yeah. That's it. We will recover. Oh, come on, please stop dancing. Sure. Great. Back to our probe. It is pointing some signs on and off, but I really don't care. And here I have planned our Urlum encounter. transfer anyway, and we are coming on a maneuver node in, let's say, 4 minutes, and our estimated burn time is 23 minutes given our low thrust. So we will actually have to do some periapsis pushing, or apoapsis pushing, sorry guys. So that basically means 4 minutes before, 4 minutes after, we are burning continuously, and then on the next orbit we repeat the process until we hit exactly our delta V budget and hopefully get an Urlum encounter. I have previously done multiple passes over Kerbin, but this is the first time that I'm doing it on the dark side without the help of the solar panel, so I have to be a little bit careful in terms of how much of the of my energy am I consuming. So I'm very careful with my thrust, because my generation is 400 and my drain is 399, but then again I'm also draining using the communication dishes, so that's something that I have to keep in mind. Now fiddling with putting my orbit to the next orbit actually, and I want to make sure that I have enough connects showing to see that I secure an Urlum encounter. As it seems right at the moment we don't have an Urlum encounter, but then again on the next orbit we'll have to fix that one. So Urlum, yeah. Now I have to just decrease our delta V until we get again an Urlum encounter, and we're coming up close, and yes, here we are. So focus on Urlum, and Urlum is one of those planets that it has several moons as well. Right now, as you can see, we're on actually a very, very tight budget. It's 1821 versus 146. So we should hopefully have just enough fuel to actually go to Urlum and get into its sphere of influence. So I'm not 100% sure how will this look like. Maybe if we sent another craft that would be better, but then again, that wouldn't be fun now, would it? Okay. I actually committed to getting this one basically out to Urlum. So let's see how this one will fare. Okay, and we have started our another long burn, and the purpose of this burn is to basically get out of Kerbin's sphere of influence, which we are, and then we have to burn and continue the burn until we have securely reached Urlum. And this will be a little bit tricky because we have only started 4 minutes before, so I'm a little bit worried about our delta V budget, to be honest, because as if you monitor the two numbers, what is our burn and what amount of delta V we have, you will probably notice that our delta V redundancy budget is shrinking, so we just might run out of juice. Then again, this is an interesting test to actually see how would that work. I would like to use near future propulsion and maybe some other propulsion methods for the colonization, hopefully, of Duna and some others, but then again, the thrust on these guys that I have unlocked so far is so low that I can basically do nothing. I have to have huge clusters and they are very power hungry. So we'll see how that will fare. And as you can see, 200 and my budget is shrinking, so I'm thinking I'll need to think out of the box. So I have actually put the RCS, and I'm thrusting with my RCS thrusters to maybe save a little bit of our delta V budget, that I still have some meters per second when we encounter Urlum. So let's see. And yes. Okay, great. We do have Urlum encounter with 93 meters per second to spare. This is just crazy, to be honest. Okay, perfect. Kill rotation, toggle SAS, and be very, very happy that we actually succeeded. Let us escort our probe out of the system, just into the interplanetary space, just to make sure that we haven't screwed up our transfer because of, time acceleration and patched conics, I guess. So we have another 15 minutes until we do switch sphere of influence, so I'm just very carefully monitoring it. Okay, reducing time acceleration, and slowly but surely making sure that we switch it at 1 times acceleration. And while I'm doing so, I might as well create a screenshot of this probe. I really like the design. It's very simplistic. Like I said, it's not my own design. Cannot take full credit for it, but then again, I think it will be very cool. So we switch sphere of influence, and we do have Urlum encounter, so I'm very happy about it, which means our probe in some due time will eventually reach Urlum, which is, in some due time, is actually a whole 12 years. So yeah, it will be a while until we hear from this. That being said, I'm thinking about designing another craft that should be basically going to Minmus. So I'm actually thinking about our orbital lab science component, and I want to send the science component to Minmus, basically doing the same thing and assembling the same science lab as we have in the orbit of Kerbin, but with a tiny change. And the tiny change being that I want also to send a small lander, which would then be able to basically go there, connect and to our small Minmus lander that we've been using so far, that has been docked with that station, and also be able to switch it in the equatorial region, or basically align the station to the equatorial region of Minmus, and basically then come back with our Kerbal, who would be basically piloting that mission. So take the science component there, make sure that station is put into the equatorial orbit around Minmus, and then return back, while also having these a Minmus RCS lander attached, the one that we docked a couple of episodes ago. So I'm trying to design as small of a return stage or as I can. Just lander can, some fuel, and some actually supplies, so that my Kerbal doesn't starve. And yeah, I'll need some landing legs, I'll need probably a docking port and some parachutes. But first, some batteries. I'm trying to design this lander as lightweight as possible, because its sole purpose is return from Minmus, nothing more. So it has to be really, really light. And its delta V doesn't need to be stellar either. So okay, battery, solar panels, parachutes. We have 4, that's good enough. Let's put landing legs. Okay, and some Kerbal attachment system components. I'm also using here, as you can see, Sepratron, because I do want to when I decouple from the docking port, I don't want basically this, if I were using the stack separator, I think this one would stay, so that's why I'm using, or if I was using the coupler would stay connected to docking port, I think. I'm not sure. I think some of you guys pointed me that you can still undock stuff from there. But at this point I really don't want to try it. I'll try it out maybe some off camera and I'll try it later. So I'm now expanding a little bit because I want to use 4 boosters, because we need to have more delta V to actually get to Minmus in the first place. I want to also fix my staging. I don't want to use onion staging, I want to use asparagus staging, simply due to the better distribution of thrust to weight on our ascent stage. Yes, this is good. Let's fix the groups. And I think our delta V looks pretty decent to go to Minmus. I don't know exactly how much you need, but I think it looks decent, so yeah. I think this should more or less be okay. We don't need to simulate, so let us get that one into place, and then we will be basically launching our Kerbal. And for this mission, let's see whom shall we select this time. I think, given that this work will be basically station assembly, I want to send more or less an engineer. So yeah, let's just check who will be the lucky guy. Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, just rolling out to the vessel. Perfect. And then let us make sure. We will be launching probably this guy in the next episode, but let's see who will we select. So we don't want to send the whole science crew, we'll send them later. We just want to send one engineer that will hopefully do the job. So let's see, who do we select? Mike J, let's see. I actually have some new hires. Mumin Kerman, Kustach Kerman, and Viruk M. Kerman. And Viruk M. Kerman is the engineer of the 3, so we will be sending Viruk on that voyage. Well, that pretty much makes it for this episode. It will be launch will be happening in the next episode. Please like if you like the episode, and for more KSC content, hit that subscribe button. More content will be coming soon. Thank you again for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off.